3.34.
I think it's very interesting that human beings are the only animals which listen to music for pleasure. A lot of research has been done to find out why we listen to music, and there seem to be three main reasons. Firstly, we listen to music to make us remember important moments in the past. For example, when we met someone for the first time. Think of Humphrey Bogart in the film Casablanca saying, "Darling, they're playing our song." When we hear a certain piece of music, we remember hearing it for the first time in some very special circumstances. Obviously, this music varies from person to person. Secondly, we listen to music to help us change activities. If we want to go from one activity to another, we often use music to help us make the change. For example, we might play a certain kind of music to prepare us to go out in the evening. Or we might play another kind of music to relax us when we get home from work. That's mainly why people listen to music in cars, and they often listen to one kind of music when they're going to work and another kind when they're coming home. The same is true of people on buses and trains with their iPods. The third reason why we listen to music is to intensify the emotion that we're feeling. For example, if we're feeling sad, sometimes we want to get even sadder, so we play sad music. Or we're feeling angry, and we want to intensify the anger, then we play angry music. Or when we're planning a romantic dinner, we lay the table, we light candles, and then we think, what music would make this even more romantic?
3.35.
Let's take three important human emotions: happiness, sadness, and anger. When people are happy, they speak faster and their voice is higher. When they are sad, they speak more slowly and their voice is lower. And when people are angry, they raise their voices or shout. Babies can tell whether their mother is happy or not simply by the sound of her voice, not by her words. What music does is it copies this, and it produces the same emotions. So, faster, higher-pitched music will sound happy. Slow music, with lots of falling pitches, will sound sad. Loud music, with irregular rhythms, will sound angry. It doesn't matter how good or bad the music is. If it has these characteristics, it will make you experience this emotion. Let me give you some examples. For happy, for example, the first movement of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony. For angry, say Mars from The Planets by Holst. And for sad, something like Albinone's Adagio for strings. Of course, the people who exploit this most are the people who write film soundtracks. They can take a scene which visually has no emotion, and they can make the scene either scary, or calm, or happy, just by the music they write to go with it. Think of the music in the shower scene in Hitchcock's film Psycho. All you can see is a woman having a shower, but the music makes it absolutely terrifying.
3.36. 1.
Firstly, we listen to music to make us remember important moments in the past.
2,
When we hear a certain piece of music, we remember hearing it for the first time.
3,
If we want to go from one activity to another, we often use music to help us make the change.
3.37. 1,
I enjoy listening to music.
I couldn't help laughing.
2,
I want to speak to you.
They can't afford to buy a new car.
3,
It might rain tonight.
I'd rather eat in than go out tonight.
3.38. 1,
It started to rain.
It started raining.
2,
Remember to lock the door.
I remember going to Lima as a child.
Sorry, I forgot to do it.
I'll never forget seeing the Taj Mahal.
I tried to open the window.
Try calling Yi on her cell phone.
You need to clean the car.
The car needs cleaning.
3.40. 1,
Why do you have problems sleeping?
Well, I'm from a pretty rural area, but I moved to the city a few years ago when I got married. I've been living in the city for 3 years now. I have a lot of problems getting to sleep at night because our bedroom just isn't dark enough. I can't get used to sleeping in a bedroom where there's light coming in from the streetlights outside. Where I grew up, I always used to sleep in complete darkness because my bedroom window had blinds, and when I went to bed, I used to close the blinds completely. But here in the city, our bedroom window just has curtains, and curtains don't block out the light very well. It takes me a long time to get to sleep at night, and I always wake up more often than I used to.
So why don't you just get heavier curtains?
Because my wife doesn't like sleeping in a completely dark room. She says that she feels claustrophobic if the room is too dark.
Yes, a lot of people do feel like that.
3.41. 2,
Why do you have problems sleeping?
Well, I'm a police officer, and so I have to work different shifts, which means I work at night every other week. So I start work at 10 o'clock at night and end at 6 in the morning the following day. The main problem is that my body's used to sleeping at night, not during the day. So it's hard to get used to being awake all night and trying to work and concentrate when your body is just telling you to go to bed.
But isn't it something you get used to?
Actually, no, because I work during the day for 1 week, and then the next week I work at night, which means that just when my body has gotten used to being awake at night, then I go back to working in the day. And then, of course, I can't get to sleep at night because my body thinks it's going to have to work all night. The other problem is that when I get home after working a night shift, everyone else is just starting to wake up, so that means that it can be really noisy. The neighbors turn the radio on and bang doors and shout to wake their children up. So even though I'm really tired, it's just very hard to get to sleep.
How many hours do you usually sleep?
Before I became a police officer, I used to sleep about 8 or 9 hours a night. But I think now I probably don't sleep more than 6 hours.
3.42. 3,
Why do you have problems sleeping?
I have a lot of problems sleeping because of jet lag. I have to travel a lot in my job, and I take a lot of long-haul flights. I fly to New York quite often, and I arrive maybe at 6 o'clock in the evening my time, but when it's only 1 o'clock in the afternoon in New York. So at 5 o'clock in the afternoon local time, I'll be feeling tired and ready for bed because it's my bedtime. But I can't go to sleep because I'm probably still working or having dinner with my American colleagues. Then, when I do finally get to bed at, say, midnight local time, I find that I wake up in the middle of the night because my body thinks that it's morning because I'm still working on UK time.
And can you get back to sleep when you wake up?
No, that's the problem. I can't get back to sleep. And then, the next day when I have meetings, I feel really sleepy. It's very hard to stay awake all day. And just when I'm finally used to being on New York time, then it's time to fly home. And flying west to east is even worse.
Oh, why's that?
Because when I get off the plane, it's early morning in the UK. But for me, on New York time, it's the middle of the night. It takes me 4 or 5 days to recover from one of these trips.
Gosh, that must be really difficult for you.
3.43. 1,
I used to sleep for 8 hours every night, but now I only sleep for 6.
I didn't recognize him. He didn't used to have a beard.
2,
When I lived in Mexico as a child, we used to have pan dulce for breakfast. We would buy them every morning from the local baker.
3.44. 1,
I'm not used to sleeping with a comforter. I've always slept with blankets.
Carlos has lived in Hong Kong for years. He's used to driving on the left.
2,
I can't get used to working at night. I feel tired all the time.
Don't worry, you'll get used to it fast.
3.45. 1,
I'm used to working on a team.
2,
I can't get used to driving on the left.
3,
I used to get up at 6 o'clock every day.
3.46. 1,
I'm not used to sleeping on such a hard bed.
2,
I'll never get used to living alone.
3,
Did you used to sleep a lot when you were a teenager?
3.47.
And finally today, the story of a sleepwalker who gets up in the middle of the night and goes to the kitchen and starts, you guessed it, cooking. Robert Wood, who's 55 years old, used to be a chef until he retired last year. We have Robert and his wife Eleanor with us in the studio today. Robert, tell us what happens.
Well, I've been a sleepwalker for about 40 years now. I think it first started when I was about 14 or so. Anyway, these days I get up about 4 or 5 times a week, and I always end up in the kitchen, and I start cooking something.
Do you always cook?
No, not always. I've done other things too. I remember once I put the TV on at full volume, and once I filled the bath with water, although I didn't get in it. But I usually cook.
Eleanor, do you wake up when this happens?
Yes, I usually wake up because he's making a noise. I go downstairs and usually I find him in the kitchen. Once he was just laying the table, but other times he's been cooking.
What kind of things does he cook?
All sorts of things. I've caught him cooking omelettes and spaghetti bolognese, and even caught him frying chips once. That was a bit scary because he could easily have burnt himself or started a fire.
Do you ever eat the things that Robert cooks?
No. It always looks lovely, but I must admit I've never tried it. Not at 3 o'clock in the morning. No. And the trouble is, he always leaves the kitchen in a terrible mess. The last time he sleepwalked, he spilt milk all over the place.
So, Robert, you don't know that you're cooking?
No, I haven't. I really am asleep, and afterwards I just have no recollection of having cooked anything.
You're getting some help to see if you can cure your sleepwalking, aren't you?
Yes, I've been going to a sleep clinic in Edinburgh where they think they'll be able to help me.
Well, good luck with that. And thank you both for coming into the studio today. Now, we're going to take a break, but join us again in a few minutes.
$3.48.
We've been talking to Robert, the sleepwalking cook, and his wife Eleanor. And we're now joined by Professor Maurice from Rochester, New York, who is an expert in sleepwalking.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome, Professor Maurice. Does this story surprise you?
No, it doesn't. Not at all. I've treated people who have driven cars, ridden horses, and I had one man who even tried to fly a helicopter while he was asleep.
Oh, no.
Do people usually have their eyes open when they sleepwalk?
Yes, sleepwalkers do usually have their eyes open. That's why sometimes it's difficult to know if someone is sleepwalking or not.
How common is sleepwalking?
More common than you might think. Research shows that about 18% of the population has a tendency to sleepwalk. But it's much more common in children than in teenagers or adults. And, curiously, it's more common among boys than girls. Adults who sleepwalk are usually people who used to sleepwalk when they were children. They might do it after a stressful event, for example, after a traffic accident.
People always say that you should never wake a sleepwalker up when they're walking. Is that true?
No, it isn't. People used to think that it was dangerous to wake up a sleepwalker, but, in fact, this isn't the case. You can wake a sleepwalker up without any problem, although, if you do, it is pretty common for the sleepwalker to be confused, so they probably won't know where they are for a few minutes.
So, if we see someone sleepwalking, should we wake them up?
Yes, you should remember that another of the myths about sleepwalkers is that they can't injure themselves while they are sleepwalking. But this isn't true. If a sleepwalker is walking around the house, they might trip or fall over a chair or even fall downstairs. There was a case a while ago of a 9-year-old girl who opened her bedroom window while she was sleepwalking and fell 30 feet to the ground. Luckily, she wasn't seriously injured. So, you see, Eleanor, you're right to worry that Robert might burn himself when he's cooking. You need to wake him up and get him back to bed.
How long does sleepwalking usually last?
It can be very brief, for example, a few minutes. The most typical cases are people getting up and getting dressed or people going to the bathroom. But it can occasionally last much longer, maybe half an hour or even more, as in Robert's case.
And what happens when sleepwalkers wake up? Do they remember the things they did while they were sleepwalking?
No, as Robert says, a sleepwalker usually doesn't remember anything afterward.
So, is a sleepwalker responsible for his or her actions?
That's a very good question, actually. A few years ago, a man from Canada got up in the middle of the night and drove 20 miles from his home to the house where his parents-in-law lived and, for no apparent reason, he killed his mother-in-law.
Oh, goodness.
The man was charged with murder, but he was found not guilty because he had been asleep at the time he committed the crime.
What a sad story. Professor Maurice, thank you very much for joining us today.
$3.49. 1.
Most people start feeling sleepy around 11 at night.
2.
They often open their mouth and yawn.
3.
They go to bed and set their alarm clock.
4.
They get into bed and put their head on the pillow.
5.
They cover themselves up with a comforter or with sheets and blankets.
6.
Soon they fall asleep.
7.
Some people make a loud noise when they breathe. In other words, they snore.
8.
During the night, some people have bad dreams, called nightmares.
9,
If you don't hear your alarm clock, you might oversleep.
10,
If you drink coffee in the evening, it may keep you awake.
11,
Some people can't sleep because they suffer from insomnia.
12,
These people often have to take sleeping pills.
13,
Some people take a siesta or nap after lunch.
14,
A person who sleeps well sleeps like a log.
15,
Someone who is tired after flying to another time zone is jet-lagged.
16,
Someone who is sleeping very deeply is fast asleep.
3.50, a short movie on sleep research.
Did you get enough sleep last night? I didn't, nor the night before. These days, lots of people have trouble getting a good night's sleep. Insomnia, the inability to get to sleep, is now a major issue for many people. In Britain, over half of the adult population often struggle to fall asleep. And 10% of people regularly take sleeping pills. Even when people do get to sleep, they often sleep badly. Some people even struggle with sleeping disorders. These range from the common to the bizarre. Common sleep disorders include sleepwalking and somniloquy, also known as sleep talking. Stranger disorders include sleep paralysis, where people wake up unable to move, and exploding head syndrome, where people hear a loud noise like a bomb just before they sleep. In order to combat these sleep disorders, we need to understand more about sleep's effects. The problem is, sleep is still a mystery. I've come to the sleep unit at the Surrey Clinical Research Centre to meet the scientists who are trying to find out more. These scientists all study sleep. Instead of laboratories, they have bedrooms full of high-technology equipment. These machines measure a person's brain activity and body movement during sleep. Scientists use these measurements to analyse people's sleeping patterns. They hope to discover what sleep is for and what happens to us when we don't sleep enough. We already know that sleep deprivation affects the part of the brain that controls our behaviour, our personality, and our emotions. So when we don't get enough sleep, all of these things are affected. But why are we so sleep deprived? Researchers here say that we are sleeping enough hours, but that our sleep patterns are more irregular. The average adult sleeps for about 7¼ hours per night. This is almost exactly the same amount of sleep our ancestors used to get over 100 years ago. The difference is, they slept for just over 7 hours every night, but we don't. Our sleeping patterns have changed to fit modern life. Today, most people lead busy lives, and we often sleep less during the week. Sometimes we only sleep for 5 or 6 hours because we stay up late to work or spend time with friends. Then, at the weekend, people spend longer in bed and can sleep for 10 hours. Perhaps this irregularity in sleeping patterns is something our brains find difficult to get used to, and this in turn affects our health and general well-being. That's why sleep clinics like this one are trying to learn more, so we can all sleep a little easier.
(4.2) Conversation 1.
Where's my milk? It's not here.
I haven't seen it. You must have finished it.
I definitely didn't finish it. I was keeping some for my cereal this morning. You must have used it.
Me? I never take anything from the refrigerator that isn't mine. You might have given it to the cat last night and then forgotten about it.
The cat drinks water, not milk, so I couldn't have given it to the cat. Last night there was half a carton of milk in the refrigerator. My milk.
Well, I don't know what happened to it.
What are you drinking?
Just coffee.
Yes, white coffee. That's where my milk went. Well, you can go to the supermarket and get me some more.
Okay, calm down. I'll go and get you some milk.
Conversation 2.
At the traffic circle, take the second exit.
Why are you taking the third exit? She said the second exit.
I'm sure it's this one. I remember when we came here last time.
According to that sign, this is Sunrise Highway.
Sunrise Highway? Oh no, we must have gone the wrong way.
Of course we've gone the wrong way. We should have taken the second exit at the traffic circle. What's the point of having a GPS if you don't do what it says?
Okay, I may have made a mistake. But if you knew the way to your cousin's house, then we wouldn't have to use the GPS.
Turn around as soon as possible.
4.3. 1,
You must have finished it.
2,
You might have given it to the cat last night.
3,
I couldn't have given it to the cat.
4,
Oh no, we must have gone the wrong way.
5,
We should have taken the second exit at the traffic circle.
6,
Okay, I may have made a mistake.
4.4. 1,
I must have left my phone at Anna's. I definitely remember having it there.
You must have seen something. You were there when the accident happened.
2,
Somebody might have stolen your wallet when you were getting off the train.
He still hasn't arrived. I may not have given him the right directions.
3,
She couldn't have gone to bed. It's only 10 o'clock.
You couldn't have seen their faces very clearly. It was too dark.
4.5.
We're going the wrong way. We shouldn't have turned left at the traffic light.
It's my fault. I should have told you earlier that my mother was coming.
4.6. 1,
You must have finished it.
2,
You might have given it to the cat last night.
3,
I couldn't have given it to the cat.
4,
Oh no, we must have gone the wrong way.
5,
We should have taken the second exit at the traffic circle.
6,
Okay, I may have made a mistake.
4.7.
In life, we sometimes have disagreements with people. It could be with your partner, with your boss, with your parents, or with a friend. When this happens, the important thing is to try not to let a difference of opinion turn into a heated argument. But of course, it's easier said than done. The first thing I would say is that the way you begin the conversation is very important. Imagine you're a student and you share an apartment with another student who you think isn't helping out with the housework. If you say, "Look, you never help out with the housework. What are we going to do about it?" the discussion will turn into an argument. It's much more constructive to say something like, I think we'd better take another look at how we divide up the housework. Maybe there's a better way of doing it. My second piece of advice is simple. If you're the person who's in the wrong, just admit it. This is the easiest and best way to avoid an argument. Just apologize to your roommate, your parents, or your husband, and move on. The other person will have much more respect for you if you do that. The next tip is don't exaggerate. Try not to say things like, "You always come home late when my mother comes to dinner," when maybe this has only happened once before. Or, "You never remember to buy the toothpaste." This will just make the other person get very defensive, because what you're saying about them just isn't true. If you follow these tips, you just might be able to avoid an argument. But if an argument does start, it's important to keep things under control, and there are ways to do this. The most important thing is not to raise your voice. Raising your voice will just make the other person lose their temper too. If you find yourself raising your voice, stop for a moment and take a deep breath. Say, "I'm sorry I shouted, but this is very important to me," and continue calmly. If you can talk calmly and quietly, you'll find the other person will be more ready to think about what you're saying. It's also very important to stick to the point. Try to stay on the topic you're talking about. Don't bring up old arguments or try to bring in other issues. Just concentrate on solving the one problem you're having and leave the other things for another time. So, for example, if you're arguing about the housework, don't start talking about cell phone bills too. And my final tip is that if necessary, call time out, like in a basketball game. If you think that an argument is getting out of control, then you can say to the other person, "Listen, I'd rather talk about this tomorrow when we've both calmed down." You can then continue talking about it the next day when maybe both of you are feeling less tense and angry. That way, there's a better chance that you'll be able to reach an agreement. You'll also probably find that the problem is much easier to solve when you've both had a good night's sleep. But I want to say one last thing that I think is very important. Some people think that arguing is always bad, but that isn't true. Conflict is a normal part of life, and dealing with conflict is an important part of any relationship, whether it's 3 people sharing an apartment, a married couple, or just 2 good friends. If you don't learn to argue constructively, then when a real problem comes along, you won't be prepared to face it together. Think of the smaller arguments as training sessions. Learn how to argue cleanly and fairly. It will help your relationship become stronger and last longer.
4.8. 1.
But of course, it's easier said than done.
2.
If you're the person who's in the wrong, just admit it.
3.
It's important to keep things under control.
4.
Raising your voice will just make the other person lose their temper too.
5.
Stop for a moment and take a deep breath.
6.
It's also very important to stick to the point.
7.
There's a better chance that you'll be able to reach an agreement.
8.
Dealing with conflict is an important part of any relationship.
4.9. Verbs often confused. 1.
I need to discuss the problem with my boss.
2.
I often argue with my parents about doing housework.
3.
I didn't realize you were so unhappy.
4.
I didn't notice that Karen had changed her hair color.
5.
Jack always tries to avoid arguing with me.
6.
My dad can't prevent me from seeing my friends.
7.
I've spoken to her husband twice, and he seems very nice.
8.
Carol doesn't look very well. I think she's working too hard.
9,
My parents don't mind if I stay out late.
10,
It doesn't matter if we are 5 minutes late.
11,
Can you remind me to call my mom later?
12,
Remember to turn off the lights before you go.
13,
I expect that Daniel will forget our anniversary. He always does.
14,
We'll have to wait half an hour for the next train.
15,
I wish I were a little taller.
16,
I hope that you can come on Friday. I haven't seen you for ages.
17,
The Dallas Cowboys won the game 28-10.
18,
The Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Jets 28-10.
19,
Tom always refuses to discuss the problem.
20,
Tom always denies that he has a problem.
21,
The cost of living is going to rise again this month.
22,
It's hard not to raise your voice when you're arguing with someone.
23,
Last night, I came home and lay on the sofa and went to sleep.
24,
I laid the baby on the bed and changed his diaper.
25,
The men had been planning to rob the bank.
26,
If you leave your bike unlocked, somebody might steal it.
27,
I think I should warn you that Liam doesn't always tell the truth.
28,
My teachers are going to advise me on what subjects to study next year.
4.11,
I love this photo, especially the way she's using her hands and the expression in her eyes and her mouth. Here, she is in the role of a young single mother who heard a noise in the kitchen in the middle of the night. You can see the fear in her eyes, that she's worried about her child. I think she suggests all that beautifully.
4.12, 1,
You look tired.
That cake smells good.
These jeans don't feel comfortable.
2,
Tim looks like his father.
This material feels like silk, is it?
Are you sure this is coffee? It tastes like tea.
3,
She looks as if she's been crying.
It smells as if something's burning.
It sounds as if it's raining.
4.13, 1, Two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8. 9. 10. 4.14. 1.
Here is the actress Cheryl Hines. If you think she looks furious, that's because she is. She's playing a wife who's opening the door to her husband at 1 o'clock in the morning. Her husband forgot that she was giving a dinner party, and he went off to play poker with his friends and turned his phone off. She looks as if she's going to tell him to leave and never come back.
2.
I love this one. This is Jason Schwartzman, and he's playing a 5-year-old boy. He's in the process of quietly putting his pet rat into his 7-year-old sister's clothes drawer. He looks pretty confident about what he's doing, and as if he's really looking forward to hearing her scream when she finds it.
3.
Here, Ellen Burstyn is playing a high school drama teacher. She is in the audience at the Oscar ceremony, and one of the winners is an ex-student of hers. Her ex-student actually mentions her name when she makes her winner's speech. You can see how proud she is, and how moved she is to have been mentioned.
4.
In this photo, I see pure horror and fear. This is the actor Dan Hedaya. He's playing the part of a long-distance truck driver who was tired and closed his eyes for a few moments. He opens them to see that he's, you guessed it, on the wrong side of the road, with cars racing toward him. Do you think he looks as if he's going to react in time? I think probably not.
5.
Here the actress Jane Lynch was given the role of a child. She's swallowing a spoonful of medicine that her mom promised would taste good. Of course it didn't, and now her mom is telling her that if it didn't taste awful, it wouldn't work. She looks as if she's about to spit it out. I can remember reacting just like that when I was a kid, and my mom saying those exact same words.
6.
When you look at this last one of Steve Guttenberg, I think you can immediately see from his expression that he's worried, and maybe nervous. He's playing the role of a married man who's begging his wife to give him one more chance. But I think he looks as if he's done something bad and is pretty desperate, so I'm not sure if his wife's going to forgive him.
4.15.
How difficult is it to express feelings when you can't use body language?
Radio acting is a different style of acting from visual acting because obviously you only have your voice to use. But you can use your voice and you can use timing to convey everything. When I started off as a radio actor, somebody said to me, you have to be able to raise one eyebrow with your voice, which I loved. Because you haven't got your body, you have to put it into your voice. And so therefore, the way that a radio actor works isn't totally naturalistic in the way that it would be on the television or on film. Or
what techniques do you use to help you to express emotions, feelings?
Well, there's a big difference between speaking with a smile and not speaking with a smile. There's a huge difference between being happy and being really sad and really angry.
Is it hard for actors who don't have experience in radio to do radio acting?
Well, people don't realize that it is a different technique, but you would get famous people coming in not realizing that there was a technique to radio acting and thinking that you could do total naturalism. And it isn't totally naturalistic. It's as naturalistic as you can make it to lift it off the page, to make it sound as though you're not reading it.
4.16. 6.
Cheek.
8.
Chin.
2.
Eyebrow.
4,
Eyelash.
3,
Eyelid.
1,
Forehead.
7,
Lips.
9,
Neck.
5,
Wrinkles.
4.17 Parts of the body and organs. 3,
Ankle.
1,
Calf. Calves.
2,
Heel.
6,
Elbow.
5,
Fist.
8,
Nails.
4,
Palm.
7,
Wrist.
12,
Bottom.
9,
Chest.
13,
Hip.
11,
Thigh.
10,
Waist.
14,
Brain.
17,
Heart.
16,
Kidneys.
15,
Liver.
18,
Lungs.
4.18 Verbs and verb phrases. A. 1,
Bite your nails.
2,
Blow your nose.
3,
Brush your hair. Brush your teeth.
4,
Comb your hair.
5,
Fold your arms.
6,
Hold somebody's hand.
7,
Touch your toes.
8,
Suck your thumb.
9,
Shake hands.
10,
Shrug your shoulders.
11,
Shake your head.
12,
Raise your eyebrows.
4.19 Verbs and verb phrases. C. 1,
Eye.
2,
Teeth.
3,
Arms.
4,
Nails.
5,
Hand.
6,
Knee.
7,
Forehead.
8,
Eyes.
9,
Mouth. Arms.
10,
Finger.
4.20
Fold your arms.
Blow your nose.
Raise your hand.
Scratch your head.
Bite your nails.
Wink.
Stare at the person next to you.
Point at the board.
Stretch your arms.
Shrug your shoulders.
Touch your toes.
Wave goodbye.
4.21.
Calf.
Wrist.
Palm.
Wrinkles.
Comb.
Kneel.
Thumb.
4.22.
Aisle.
Calm.
Climb.
Design.
Doubt.
Fasten.
Half.
Honest.
Knock.
Muscle.
Whistle.
Whole.
4.23. 1.
Touching or stroking their neck is a very typical sign that a person is nervous and is trying to calm themselves down. A woman may also play with a necklace, and a man may tighten his tie.
2.
When somebody's standing and they point one of their toes upward, this is a clear sign that the person is in a good mood, often because they are thinking about, or have just heard, something positive. If you see someone standing talking on the phone and they suddenly point one foot up, you can be sure that they have just been told some good news.
3.
Crossing their legs, whether they're sitting or standing, is a sign that a person feels relaxed and comfortable. If the person is sitting with their legs crossed and their feet toward another person, that shows that they are interested in this person. However, if someone they don't like appears, you may find that they quickly uncross their legs.
4.
This position, standing with your hands on your hips and your elbows pointing out, is a pose used to show dominance. If you watch police officers or soldiers, you'll notice that they often use this pose. Men tend to use it more than women, and it's something we teach women executives to do in meetings where there are a lot of men present, to show that they are confident and won't be bullied.
5.
We all know that thumbs up is a positive sign, meaning we feel good or approve of something. But what about when somebody puts their thumbs downward in their pockets? As you might guess, this usually means that their confidence is low and that they are feeling unsure of themselves. So try not to do this if you are in a situation where you need to look confident and in control.
6.
Putting their head to one side is a powerful sign that a person feels friendly and interested in someone or something. It's an automatic, genuine gesture, unlike a smile, which might be artificial, and so it's a good sign of real interest. It's also very difficult to do naturally around people you don't like.
7.
If you look at people in a stressful situation, for example, witnesses who are answering questions in courts, you'll often see that it looks as if their lips have disappeared inward. In fact, this is one of the most universal signs of stress, as if a person wanted to disappear completely.
4.24. Interview with an actor. Part 1.
How did you get into acting?
I was about 18. It was my first real job, and it was a very unusual job because I was working in the box office of the Old Vic Theatre. Then not only did I get to see an awful lot of plays, but I also met the actors, and I was able to sneak in to rehearsals in the theatre, quite illegally. And I became fascinated by the work of the theatre.
What in particular fascinated you?
But the thing that fascinated me, as I said, was when I was in rehearsals, it was the work of the theatre, the sort of work it was. So I'd stand at the back of the Old Vic Theatre when the actors were rehearsing. But mostly it consisted of people sitting rather glumly about saying, well, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to make this scene work. I don't understand my character. And the director would try to help them to understand the character or suggest a move here or a move there, or maybe they'd try walking in a different way or putting on a different hat. And bit by bit, it started to fall into place. And I thought, what a wonderful job. What a fantastically interesting job to wrestle with these kinds of problems, trying to understand the characters, trying to find out how best to express them and show them off. So I came to acting very much from that point of view.
The role that first made you famous as a young actor was playing Mozart in the original theatre production of Amadeus, which later went on to become a film. What was the most challenging thing about playing the part of Mozart?
What was a challenge was that Mozart was a person who'd actually lived and was indeed one of the greatest artistic geniuses of the whole of Western civilization. And I was a great lover and admirer of Mozart's music. So there was a tremendous challenge to bridge the character that Peter Schaffer had written. And Peter Schaffer knows all about Mozart as he could, so that Mozart was sort of a smutty, hysterical child, really, in a lot of the play. My job was to reconcile that with the fact that he wrote the Manager of Figaro. And that was tremendously hard.
Was Mozart one of your most satisfying roles?
No, I wouldn't say that was the most satisfying. It was the most exciting, because its fame, almost from the moment it was announced, was overwhelmingly greater than anything I had ever done, or to be honest, ever have done since. The fact that the play was very, very controversial when it opened proved to be very shocking for many people, only increased the excitement around it. And it was astonishing to look out into the auditorium every night and to see Paul Newman or Robert Redford or Ava Gardner or Margaret Thatcher sitting out there, because everybody had to see that play.
4.25 Interview with an Actor, Part 2.
Over your career, you have acted in the theatre and you have also acted in many films. Which do you prefer?
They're absolutely different media. They require different things from you as an actor. I love them both, but they're each of them completely different. And you bring completely different things to them. Obviously, the crucial difference with the theatre is that there's an audience there, and that's such an important aspect of it in every way. It's there important because you have to reach out to them, make sure that everybody can hear and see what you're doing. The beauty of the theatre is that every single performance is utterly different from every other one.
How do you motivate yourself to play the same character again night after night?
I think as you get older, you realise that you never get it right. I mean, I've probably about half a dozen times in my 40 years of acting have thought, well, that was a really good performance. But it can always be better. And so one goes to the theatre every day hoping that it'll be in some way better. There's always the possibility you might get it right. I mean, you never do, you never can.
So what for you is the main difference with film acting?
In movies or television film, which is what almost all television is nowadays, a lot of those responsibilities lie with the director and the editor. And as having directed film myself, I know perfectly well that you can make a sad scene funny, you can make a slow scene fast in the editing suite. It's an astonishing power that a director and editor have. You can make a character seem stupid just by editing them in a certain way, or make them seem brilliant by editing them in a different way. So in that sense, the actor's rather powerless.
Anything else?
The other thing that's very hard about acting on film is that, hilariously, it's regarded as a sort of naturalistic medium, but in no sense is it that for the actor, because first of all, there are some little metal objects right in front of you, sort of staring at you as you're doing your love scene or whatever else it might be.
4.26 Interview with an actor, Part 3.
Do you enjoy watching other actors acting?
Well, I love watching other actors acting. I've been obsessed by acting since I was a child, and I'm a great connoisseur of it, and I think I'm quite a good judge of it. And so I adore watching other actors work when it's good. When it's not, it's a great pain to me.
Who were the first great actors you saw?
As a young man and a boy, I was extraordinarily lucky to see that fabled generation of actors of Gielgud, Richardson, Olivier, Edith Evans, Peggy Ashcroft, people now almost all completely forgotten. Even if they made movies, it's unlikely that people of a younger generation know who they are. But when they were alive and kicking and doing their extraordinary work on stage, it was something quite remarkable. I mean, it was the sort of thing that nobody attempts anymore.
Do any modern actors come close to that golden generation?
In movies, not always, but sometimes Daniel Day-Lewis does, I think, probably approach a role in the way that Lawton might have approached it.
Is there anything you don't like about acting?
I don't much like wearing makeup. I sweat a lot, it comes off, it's uncomfortable, it's sticky, you can't... And I do everything I can to avoid wearing makeup.
Do you still get stage fright?
I don't get stage fright, but I do get self-conscious, and I hate that, and I wish I didn't, particularly at events like First Nights, because I don't know how it's impossible to ignore the fact that there are at least 100 people sitting out there judging you, you know. I think almost all actors feel a tremendous longing for the first night to be over, but it has to happen. It's like a sort of operation. You know it's got to happen, it's going to hurt, but you will feel better afterwards.
4.27 Interview with an actor, Looking at language. 1.
I thought, what a wonderful job. What a fantastic, interesting job.
2.
My job was to reconcile that with the fact that he wrote The Marriage of Figaro. And that was tremendously hard.
3.
Its fame, almost from the moment it was announced, was overwhelmingly greater than anything I had ever done.
4.
They're absolutely different media. They require different things from you as an actor.
5.
You bring completely different things to them.
6.
The beauty of the theatre is that every single performance is utterly different from every other one.
7.
As a young man and a boy, I was extraordinarily lucky to see that fabled generation of actors of Gielgud, Richardson, Olivier.
4.28 On the Street. Haylene.
What actors do you enjoy watching?
Well, my favorite actors are Meg Ryan. I like Jennifer Aniston. All that has to do with Friends. And I like Tom Hanks, Sandra Bullock.
Why do you like them?
Sandra Bullock, for example, I like her because she can make different roles and she kills it. She's really good at it.
Why do you like Sandra Bullock's performance in Miss Congeniality?
I like it because she first shows a side of her that is not too girly. She's like, I don't care, whatever. And then she showed that she could change her character into this girly woman. That was really good.
Sean.
What actors do you particularly enjoy watching?
I don't really have a favourite actor, I don't think, but I always enjoy watching Robert De Niro.
Why do you like him?
I think he just has an intensity and a presence that makes you want to watch him, makes you want to think about why he's doing what he's doing. I think even if it's something quite silly, it's still always interesting to watch.
What performance of his do you particularly enjoy?
I think my favourite film and my favourite performance of all time is The Deer Hunter.
Yvonne.
What actors do you particularly enjoy watching?
I particularly like watching Christian Bale as an actor and maybe an actress, Anne Hathaway.
Which of their performances did you particularly enjoy?
I enjoyed Christian Bale as Batman and also in the movie The Prestige.
Why do you like Anne Hathaway?
I like Anne Hathaway because she's very attractive, and I liked her in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yasuko.
What actors do you particularly enjoy watching?
An actress that I do like is Meryl Streep. I think she's a very powerful actress. I think she does well in any role that's given to her. I really do admire her. She's very moving. Anything that she does, she moves me.
Are there any particular films in which you enjoyed her performance?
My favorite movie with Meryl Streep is Julie and Julia.
Why did you like her performance?
I think she did a really good job capturing Julia Child. She sounded like her. She was able to just become her. So I loved it.
4.29 Colloquial English phrases. 1.
I like it because she first shows a side of her that is not too girly.
2.
I think he just has an intensity and a presence that makes you want to watch him.
3.
I think my favourite film and my favourite performance of all time is The Deer Hunter.
4.
I think she does well in any role that's given to her.
5.
I think she did a really good job capturing Julia Child.
4.30
So, welcome to the program, Danny. Now, you're an ex-burglar yourself, so you can obviously give us the inside story here. Tell me, how long does a burglar usually take to rob a house?
I'd say that an experienced burglar would never spend more than 20 minutes in a house. 20 minutes maximum, and then out.
And how much would they probably take in that time?
Maybe $4,000 or $5,000 worth of goods. It depends on the house.
And what are the favorite things for burglars to steal?
Well, these days, they're usually looking for things like laptops and tablets. They're easy to sell, you know, and not so easy for the owner to identify if the burglar later gets caught.
What one thing would be likely to stop a burglar from breaking into a house?
I'd say definitely a dog, especially a noisy one. Burglars don't like dogs because they're unpredictable.
What kind of things would actually make a burglar choose a particular house to break into?
Well, it has to look like a house where there'll be things worth taking. So a burglar will usually go for a house that looks expensive in a good area. And they'll also often choose a house where there are trees or bushes outside that are good places to hide while they're watching the house before they break in. And also where they could hide when they come out of the house. That way, there's less chance of neighbors seeing them. And obviously, they'll usually wait for the house to be empty before they break in.
So a burglar wouldn't break in if they thought the owners were at home?
Not usually, no. Though there are some burglars who actually prefer it if the owners are at home in bed.
Oh?
That way, they won't get surprised by them suddenly coming home when they're in the middle of things.
Oh, not a very nice thought. What's the most common time of day for a burglar to break into your house?
People always think of burglars as working at night. And, of course, some do. But the majority of burglaries happen between around 10 in the morning and lunchtime. A burglar will watch a house and then wait for the adults to go to work and the kids to go to school, and then he can be sure the house is empty.
What's the easiest way for a burglar to break into a house?
The easiest way is just taking out a window or a patio door, usually at the back of the house. You can do this really quickly, and it doesn't make much noise if you have good equipment, which a serious burglar would usually have.
And finally, what's the safest room to hide your valuables in? What's the last place a burglar would look?
There's a typical order burglars use when they search a house. They start with the main bedroom, because that's often where people leave their valuables, and then the living room. After that, probably the dining room, if there is one, a home office, and then the kitchen. The last place would probably be a kid's bedroom. You wouldn't usually expect to find anything worth taking there.
So a child's bedroom is the best place to hide things?
Well, in theory. Though, of course, if any burglars out there have been listening to this program, they might start looking there first.
4.31. 1,
Burglar.
2,
Robber.
3,
Shoplifter.
4,
Pickpocket.
5,
Mugger.
6,
Thief.
4.32. Crimes and criminals. 1, I.
Blackmail. Blackmailer. Blackmail.
2, L.
Bribery. Bribe.
3, E.
Burglary. Burglar. Break in. Burgle.
4, D.
Forgery. Forger. Forge.
5, K.
Fraud. Fraudster. Commit fraud.
6, F.
Hacking. Hacker. Hack into.
7, C.
Hijacking. Hijacker. Hijack.
8, A.
Kidnapping. Kidnapper. Kidnap.
9, O.
Mugging. Mugger. Mug.
10, B.
Murder. Murderer. Murder.
11, J.
Robbery. Robber. Rob.
12, G.
Smuggling. Smuggler. Smuggle.
13, P.
Stalking. Stalker. Stalk.
14, M.
Terrorism. Terrorist. Use violent actions, etc.
15, N.
Theft. Thief. Steal.
16, H.
Vandalism. Vandal. Vandalize.